we have to change. So being a leader means that you have to learn how to develop your skill sets. Now, I remember when I started playing guitar, I was just a young tyke. I remember playing, oh boy, I can't even remember this song. Hey, I'm a believer now. No, that wasn't it. So I was some song, and I was in there trying to learn guitar, and my fingers started to hurt. And then my fingers started to bleed because I kept practicing, and I was cutting them with the strings, and I wasn't smart enough to get light strings. I got heavy strings. No one ever taught me there was a difference. And I'm cutting my fingers, and I'm wounded. And then they had to heal. And then I went back, and after a while, it's G, D, C, F, A, and you're learning them all, and you're slow. But after a while, it becomes muscle memory, and then you don't even think about it. You just boom, 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 boom. You're just moving right across the fret, and it's a normal thing. But that's a skill. It doesn't matter if you have a desire. You have a skill that you have to hone, and you have to develop, and you have to mature. Those who do not have the correct titles feel they aren't really leaders. Therefore, they never develop their skill. But I want you to know, if you are truly a leader, it doesn't take a title. You can tell a leader. One of the first things I always do when I go into a room, and if I'm not normally there, so it's a new room, I'm walking in, and people think I might be a little secluded, but really what I'm doing is I'm scanning the room for the leaders. So I'm looking for my leaders. Why am I looking for leaders? Well, if I'm going to teach leadership, I am going to keep eye contact with those that I know are leaders during my training. Why am I going to do that? Because they're the leaders, and if I can get it into them, then the people following them are going to get it into them. So I'm immediately looking for leaders. Well, how can you tell a leader? You can tell a leader because they have followers. There are people gathered around them. And that is the telltale sign that somebody is actually a leader. They'll have people gathered around them. I remember one time I had a youth pastor, and there's this. I was trying to teach him this, and he wasn't listening. He only gathered people that liked him. He gathered people that loved God. I mean, that would make it comfortable, right? But really, that's not what a leader's job is. A leader is to captivate leaders, convert them, and then grab all their followers. And so I'm trying to teach him all of this, and he wasn't listening to me. And I said, see that kid there? Man, he's all dressed in goth. He's got black makeup on, black fingernails. All his clothes are black, big chains hanging off him. I said, that's a leader. And he said, that's not a leader. He doesn't love God. I said, it doesn't matter if he loves God. He's still a leader. Look, he's got 5 kids that are always around him and that dress like him and act like him. That's a leader. True leadership is the ability to influence people and to gather people around you without even striving or having to work hard, because people need to be influenced in a vision. So these are the 5 levels of leadership that I try to make sure that's in us, that we understand, that we have with clarity, because this is literally the stepping stone that you and I have to walk up as we are growing in our leadership skill sets. Number 1, positional. This is the title. I've got a title. I've got a Mr., I've got a Mrs., I've got doctor, I've got lawyer, I've got, those are titles. Titles are great, but that, no matter who you are, you always come in with a title. You're going to come into a position with a title. And people usually, and we'll get into it as we break it down a little bit more, will respond to you according to your title, but they don't trust you. They don't know you. They're not really following you. Well, watch now. They're not following you. They're still only following the person that appointed you, because the person that appointed you, they trust, you don't. Let me say it one more time. The only trust that you get when you take a position is because the person they appointed trust you. No one's going to trust you if your leader doesn't trust you. I don't care what your position is. We see that in our governments. My goodness, our government right now, and I'm not a governmental guy, but our governments right now, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an independent. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. None of us trust them. They got positions, but that's all they got. And I want you to know that that is not a compliment. The second level is called permission. That's relationships. The third level is production. That is results. The fourth level is people development. That is reproduction. And then the fifth is the pinnacle or respect. So principles of leadership. Number one, the position, say it with me, positional. Permission, production, people development, pinnacle. Well, his old book used to call it personhood. And that is over time. That is the proving over time. So these principles, if you and I learn them, then we are going to be people that we can literally have followers that are going to trust you, followers that will go with you through the fire, followers that are going to be with you no matter what situation you're going through. They're going to be faithful and loyal. And I want to explain something to you, whether people like to hear it or not, which is a lost gift and art in today's society, is loyalty. Loyalty is something that is absolutely mandated if you're going to have somebody with longevity in your life. The problem is that loyalty today is not the same as it was before. In today's date, if you're loyal to the money that you're getting paid. That means you're not even loyal to the company you're with. You're loyal to getting paid, and if someone's going to pay you more, you're going to change companies because you have no loyalty to the company. You only have loyalty to the paycheck. Well, that's a real problem, especially when you're generating an organization, especially when you're building the kingdom of God, especially when you're building a company. You need to have people that are going to be loyal. You need to have people that are going to stick with you through the difficult times and are going to be willing to back you up when it seems to be overwhelmingly difficult. But loyalty is a lost art of, let's just say, Christianity, never mind in the world, and we need to get back to understanding and living loyal lives so that we can truly ourselves be great leaders, but then have leaders we're going to rear up in with us. Every leader starts off with number one. It's the number one place you start in the journey. The only influence you have comes from your title. It's not that you're bad. It's not that you're a bad person, but people don't know you. You know, another old saying, Maxwell, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. One of the things that I do when people come to work at my house, let's say a contractor, one of the things I do is I stay home the first day. I always stay home the first day because I am bringing them coffee, I am bringing them food, I am bringing them water. If I need to, I'll buy them a pizza. Why? Because when they go to places, I actually offer them my bathroom. When they go to work at places, you don't talk to the owner. The owner wants nothing to do except that they hover over them to make sure they do it exactly the way they want it done. Well, the problem is that they're not going to be loyal to that homeowner. But with me, I actually strive to build a relationship with the people that are going to work at my house because I want them to have the same pride in my house that they have in their house. And if they have a loyalty to the homeowner, they're going to feel a little bit more guilt if they don't do it properly. It's about relationships. So it's important to know that in level one, your main job in level one is not exerting your authority, is not telling everybody who you are and the title you possess. The number one thing that you have to do as a level one leader as positional is your job is to build relationships with the people that are working with you that will actually either remain your follower or will find their way out of your department because they can't stand you. People will even tolerate your idiosyncrasies. They'll tolerate your irritations. They'll tolerate even your tonnage. They'll tolerate even your style of leadership if they can learn that you actually do care about them. I remember, and I told the story before, but I remember getting asked up to a man and woman's house in my last church. They invited me to their home for supper, my wife and I. Went up for supper, had a great supper, sat down in their living room to have some coffee and some dessert. And we were done the dessert. They looked at us and said, yeah, this is our last Sunday. We want you to know we're leaving. And I said, what happened? They said, well, we've never really liked you. We've never liked the way you do ministry. But our kids did, and you invested so much in our kids. You loved our kids so much that now that they're graduated, there's no reason for us to stay. So we just want to let you know we're leaving. So people will stay as long as they see care. People aren't cared for today. If you're in a company, most company people don't care for you. They're using you just as much as you're using them. That's why there's such a large vacillation in most companies when it comes to hiring and firing. There's no relationships. The leader never got off number one. Come on now, you know what I'm talking about. A person that becomes a positional leader, they usually exhibit one of these territories if they're not going to change. Number one, territorialism. You ever seen somebody that's territorial? That's my job. What are you doing? That's my desk. What are you doing? What are you doing over there? I'm supposed to be doing that. Territorialism. Protocol. Every jot and tittle, they love the process more than the person. Tradition. We've never done it that way before. Organizational charts, and not that charts are negative, but there are times that even with situational ethics, and I'm not talking breaking God's law in situational ethics, I'm talking that there's sometimes processes that need to be moved around because somehow somebody needs to be cared for in a different way. And if you're going to be remaining a positional leader, you're going to stay to that jot and tittle. You're not going to move to the right or the left, and therefore they're never going to trust you. They're not going to like you. They're not going to believe in you. They know you don't care, so they're going to leave. So positional people, their security is based on their title and not their talent. People will not remain under a person that is positional. They will end up leaving. That's why you'll see a large turnover in some people's departments. The turnover is always because they don't like them. They know that the person is just using them. They're getting a paycheck, but if a paycheck that is bigger is offered, they're out. Or even internally, they might take a pay cut to get away from you. Positional leaders feed on politics, posturing, climbing that corporate ladder. Rights over responsibilities. They want people to acknowledge their rights as their leader. I'm in charge. Lonely leaders, king on the hill, unable to keep talented people. They're lonely not because they're great leaders. They're lonely because they've driven everybody who could do well with them away from them. Then when they see somebody talented coming in that's even better than them, they make sure they drive them out quickly. I met this one pastor. Every single time God sent somebody he was praying for, Lord, I need someone to do follow through. Lord, I need someone to do this. Lord, I need somebody came in more talented than him. His low self-esteem rose to the top, and he drove them out. He made sure they wouldn't stay in the church. He nagged them, suppressed them, overwhelmed them. He badgered them till they left. And then he'd say, oh God, what happened? I'll tell you what happened. You're insecure. Leaders that remain positional are insecure leaders. They're leaders that need emotional help. They're leaders that need to have counseling, deliverance. They need a greater relationship with God so that their relationship is based on who they are with Christ, not who they are because of situations in their past. Low self-esteem leaders are the most dangerous leaders, and I'll be honest with you, when I've dealt with leaders, mostly pastors, majority of, now I'm not saying all, but the majority of pastors I have met, especially of smaller churches that are not growing, the issue has nothing to do with the people, has nothing to do with this. Ready? Well, you know, this area is a dark area. It's a hard area. Can't tell you how many times I heard that, and it has nothing to do with the dark area, has nothing to do with the demon spirits, for I have all authority over the power of the devil. It has to do with they were a low self-esteem leader, therefore they made sure they contained everybody into a place to where only they could control them. And anybody with a greater gift, they drove them out. So a positional leader will remain there because of their esteem level. A person that cannot grow teams, say it again. We are a team of team church. I built a team. It's their job to build a team, and it's their job's team to build a team. Why? Because God will only give you what he can trust you with. If you own a company, you cannot have 200 employees and be fully in charge. You have to delegate authority. You have to have departments. And each department needs to have a leader. And the larger your corporation goes, the larger your church grows, there's a necessity to build tiers of leadership because you can only handle the amount of people you can handle. So if you want to grow larger, and I don't know about you, let's just talk church-wise. If you want to grow larger as a church or a ministry, the only way you can do that is to be a leader of leaders, but you can't be a leader of leader if you remain positional because no one's going to trust you. So positional leaders have a harder time keeping volunteers. I try to be extremely patient because the only thing that a volunteer owes you is nothing. They owe you nothing. They owe you no obligation. So if you remain as a level 1 leader, you will find that you will not be able to raise up followers. It won't happen because they will never trust you. They will stay for a little bit, but they will cycle out. So you've got to bring everybody back to the place of you and I recognizing that we genuinely need to love people like Christ loves the church. Amen? I'm going to read this one to you. Volunteers do not have to work in a church organization, and a leader does not have money enough to leverage them. White-collar workers are used to participate in decision-making and resent dictatorial. Only 5% of high-level leaders stay in churches. Only 5%. Baby boomers are unimpressed with symbols of authority and do not respond to dictatorial leadership. Millennials will have nothing to do with a leader who remains in this place of skill. I want to remind you that that word at the end was not an accident. This place of skill. This place of skill. If you are a leader, your responsibility is to build your skill. Your responsibility is to be the greatest leader that you can ever be. And it cannot happen from osmosis. It cannot happen because you're a nice person. A genuine leader that is truly able to lead team of teams of teams or leaders of leaders are people that have had the constitution to say, I will train myself. I will develop my skill. Now, like I said, I played guitar. And over the years, my skill has increased. But one time I decided that I was going to play jazz. So I bought I bought a lot of money in instruments. There's an amp it's called Rivera that is made for jazz. And the tone on a Rivera is just, it is beautiful. And so I bought it, and I had that. I had the guitar. I was getting ready to go buy a Gibson, because the tone on those certain Gibsons are just phenomenal. And I sat on the couch for 1 year in the evenings playing scales, just learning scales, because they're not the same. It's not the same as regular playing guitar. It's all new scales. And then I start trying to play, and I'm realizing I don't even have the skill to do this. When you stay in your wheelhouse and you develop the skill in your wheelhouse, you get greater. But when you step out of your skill and your capabilities and how you were created and try to make something happen that you do not have the call for, you will always remain frustrated. You can only remain first level. You will never accelerate, and you'll go through leaders very, very quickly. So what I did was I recognized I don't have the rhythm to play jazz. Even singing, I frustrate drums. I frustrate a bass guitarist because I struggle staying on rhythm. And with jazz, you have to have rhythm. I got on Facebook the other day, and there is a 6-year-old boy playing blues. He's playing jazz. Now, I just want you to know, in my head, I said, I hate you, child. Because I worked a long time. I spent a lot of money. And here's this little child doing what I desired to do. But it wasn't my skill set. Stay in your wheelhouse. Develop your skill. And you'll always grow to the next level. So, level 1. Mindset of a level 1 leaders that do not graduate to level 2. It's always the top down. Someone was saying something to me the other day that I thought, actually, I was watching a video the other day. It was actually last night. Watching a video last night of the KCM conferences that were happening. And this guy named Burke, I don't remember his first name, he's an evangelist. He was talking about how Brother Copeland got on international news at that conference the night before. And I didn't hear anything, but I was listening to him, and he was saying he got on international news because the cameraman, his cord was all tangled up, and he wasn't able to get where he needed to go to take the next level video. So Brother Copeland got on his hands and knees and untangled the cord for him. Can't get any higher level leader in his ministry than Kenneth Copeland. But where was he? On his hands and knees, untangling a cord so that someone else could reach their highest level. That's true leadership. Other people that don't travel to level 2 are people that believe there's a separation from workers. I have an image as a leader with power. I got to exert my power. Never let them see you sweat. And there are many times that I've sat down with my staff on Tuesdays and I've shared with them what I'm going through, because I want them to see that every leader goes through stuff that's uncomfortable, that isn't good, that even in your own head, I remember saying to my staff probably last year, maybe it was a year before, I am not okay. I just want you to know that. I am not okay. That doesn't diminish. Where in the old style of level 1, where positional was, that their mindset would be, that would diminish my strength in their eyes. but especially with millennials and Gen Zers, you will find that being more open to them is actually a greater opportunity for them to identify with your humanity. And I want to remind you that Jesus Christ of Nazareth, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth, could have been how God anointed Jesus, the Son of God, or how God anointed Jesus, the King of Kings. No. How God anointed Jesus of Nazareth. The book of Matthew talks about I believe it's Matthew. Talks about the humanity. Jesus was a human, all man, all God in the same flesh. Yeah, gave up all of his heavenly glory, and he walked and talked with the disciples pretty much 24 hours, 7 days a week for those 3+ years. They saw him. He still had to go to the toilet. He was a human. People that never go from level 1 to level 2 or to level 2 usually are the people that believe that if you're perfect, everyone will respect you more. People respect humanity, not perfection. Another group that never make it to level 2 are intimidation. Do this or else. Now, I will tell you, there are times that do this or else are very important. Amen. Rules. The manual says, or control, don't question my authority. Now, I will tell you, I am not from this school of the millennials and the Gen Zs. This one I struggle a tad with, because there are times that you don't have the luxury to sit down and explain why you're doing what you're doing. But I want to vindicate this. If you are a level 2 leader, you can do that. If you're a level 1 leader, you can't. If you are a positional leader and it's do this, I don't care what you're thinking, I don't have to explain a thing to you, shut up and do what you're told, that's one thing. You'll never get out of level 1. But if you're a positional leader and the people trust you, they have confidence in their leader, they know that their betterment is your heart, they know that the vision is the direction. If they will trust that in you, they've given you permission, and therefore you can get away with, do this. Listen, I don't have time to explain. Go. So there is the necessity of graduating from level 1 to level 2. And I want to challenge you to literally look at every person in your department, every person in your ministry. Are you level 1 with them, or are you level 2 with them? Have you graduated or have you not graduated? Have you truly, do they know you care? When my wife was a children's minister here, one of the things she always did was she always sent a card out to the children's workers. I should say to the leadership. And then she had the children's leaders send cards out to all the people that were under them. She did that for just a simple thing, and that was, thank you. Just like I just said to Steve, and I said to Pastor, thank you. You know, you guys worked 25 minutes to get this program up. Thank you. You're not obligated to. You're not paid to do that job. Thank you. Because that shows that you have given me permission in your life. And I thank you for that honor. It is an honor to graduate to level 2. It is not an obligation. People need to know you love them. By the way, everything about Jesus is love. God is love. You can be the greatest leader, but without loving people, secular or Christian, you will always remain at level 1. And their loyalty, watch this, loyalty always ends where it begins. So if the loyalty is with money and you never graduate to level 2, when money is affected, their loyalty is gone. If it's a position and you never graduate with them, if their position changes, so will they, because their loyalty was in the position, not you. You've got to take it from an inanimate object and a concept to person. If you can't do that, you'll never be a great leader. You'll only have a position. Questions? The question was, is it if you're on level 4 in production and something happens, do you bounce back? Maybe it bounces backwards. Is that what you're saying? Or do you just lose them altogether? It depends on how well and what you do when it comes to fixing things. If you've got to level 4, they know you love them, even if you're stupid. If you're stupid and you do what I call a terminal mistake, there's 2 types of mistakes in ministry, 2 types of mistakes even in business. You have stupid mistakes, you can recover from those. And then you have terminal mistakes where it doesn't matter what you do, you're never coming back. And to identify the 2 is very important. If you created a terminal mistake, you might bounce and come back. But a non-terminal. But if you're terminal, they're gone. It is very rare that if you are not already level 2, that if that occurs, they're just walking out the door. Very important. Questions? So I'm going to actually cut a video for next week, and you'll be able to watch online. It will look live. I think they call it premiering or something like that. Hey. And so you'll be able to watch next week online or right here in the room if you would like. But I'm going to start covering level 2. Okay? Does anybody have any questions before we leave? Yes. So the question was, if you know your wheelhouse, at times you have to step out of your wheelhouse to fix something or to be something. When do you know if it's what? You'll always know this, is your greater gift is what God gave you as greater. One of the things I learned, my bishop asked me one time, he said, "What is your message?" I said, "What?" He said, "What is your message?" I said, "Well, I preach the gospel." He said, "No, but what is your message?" Because even within my calling, there is a message that I am stronger with than others, that I feel more strengthened by, or that is usually going to come out in every single message. And with me, he just said it the other day. He said, your wheelhouse is very clear. He said, you train leaders. He said, looking at his Tabernacle Family Church, looking at what you do, your wheelhouse, your real gift that God will always come back to is leading leaders. You train leaders. You develop leaders. He said that is your wheelhouse. Now, I have to step outside. Sometimes I have to go take out the garbage. Sometimes I got to go and spray, all these other activities. But I always come back to my wheelhouse. Your wheelhouse is your bread and butter. You do and can build the nucleus around, but there's still always a nucleus. Okay? Questions? No matter what, anybody that tries to get out of their wheelhouse and be something that they're not, they will always get frustrated and irritated because they can't draw followers, because they themselves they're not in the right spot. Remember the old teaching, get the people on the bus, but then get them in the right seat. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. If you have questions, you can put it down in the comments of the YouTube page or right in the Facebook page, and I will comment back to you. If you have other questions, you can go to our website, www.empoweringpastors.com. So we have the YouTube, we have the Facebook, and we also have other avenues as well. I'd love to connect with you. Thank you so much for being patient with our technical difficulties. Have a great day.